What? Require a chaperone. All right, good. So I'm going to call it. You know, there's no downside.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, yeah.
Alright, so we're just about ready to laminate. First we're going to do a little sanding on the wing. I already kind of did this side, and I did test fit the motor, test fit the prop, make sure my cutout was big enough. Perfect. We're just going to really quickly run some sandpaper over this wing and just rough up this foam a bit so that this laminate will stick. I'm not too concerned about the places that have the goop on it already. That's going to be plenty sticky. And I already did this wing. You just want to get it so it feels a little fuzzy. It doesn't have that hard scratchiness. It's more fuzzy. Alright. You don't want to sand too much because you don't want to change the shape of the wing in any way. You just want to give it a light overgo with the sandpaper just to rough it up a little. That's good enough. Okay, now one more thing we're going to do before we laminate this wing is we're going to get the hot glue out. And this is something that I always do. Plug that in. So what we're going to do is, when you put laminate down, the most vulnerable parts are going to be anywhere where there's a cut edge. So anywhere where there's going to be exposed cut edge, we're just going to put a little hot glue. This is just an old credit card. We're just going to use that to smear the glue. Get the laminating iron on. We'll set it to about 300 degrees or so. So let that sit there. And let me get a piece of tape. So I'll get hot glue on my desk. Alright, the hot glue is starting to flow. So right here we're going to have a cut edge of laminate right along that thing. So I'm just going to put a little glue. And we're just going to spread it really thin. You don't want to go crazy with the hot glue because it's heavy. You just want to put a little bit down, spread it really thin. You only want to work in areas where there's going to be an edge of laminate where you're going to cut and it's going to like butt up against something. Where it's going to cut and just hang there. There we go. And that's good enough. I'm just going to do a little bit along the front of this battery bay. A little bit right behind the battery bay. Okay, and that's pretty much it. A little bit right along this motor mount. just a bit in this area up here in the front because we're going to put our camera there, so we're going to be cutting something in there. And just right along the edge of these wings where we're going to cut the laminate and the winglets are going to sit. And what's going to happen is this hot glue, when you hit the laminate with the hot iron, this hot glue is going to melt. It's going to grab that laminate and it's not going to let it peel up on the edge. There we go. We do right here along the edge of the bottom. And each edge of each wing. This is a trick I picked up in some build video somewhere, and it really does help. That laminate stick down right on those edges where you're going to have to cut it. Okay, that's it. We're ready to laminate. So, unplug this hot glue. That in there. And it's time to laminate. Now, I'm going to start with the elevons. We're going to laminate these first. When you're laminating, you got to think about the direction of your seams. Get a little hot glue in here. So, this is going to be facing this way. So when we laminate it, we want the last seam to be facing backwards. So that it's not facing forwards and able to catch the air. So, I got this little glue or something. There we go. Okay. So we get a piece of laminate. Long enough? Yeah. We're just going to cut it off. You want to have a nice sharp knife when you're working with laminate because it will dull quickly. There we go. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to get the seam. We're going to laminate the top. We're going to laminate the bottom. Nope, so that's not going to work. Laminate the top this way. And then wrap it over. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so when you're laminating these elevons, you want to keep them on a nice flat surface like this table so that you don't warp them with the heat. Laminating, like I said, really isn't as hard as people make it seem like it is. All you do is you just take your iron and you just get your laminate nice and flat and tight and just touch it on there, and that's it. That's already stuck. That's all it takes. We're just going to finish ironing on the rest of the way this way. And then iron it on the rest of the way this way. That's it. If you've never worked with laminate before, you'll see there's one side is shiny and one side is dull. And the dull side is the glue side. And that's what you want to put up against something. And if you put your iron on that glue side, you're going to glue all over your iron. So be careful not to do that. Okay. So that's pretty much one side done. All I'm going to do is trim it right along this top edge right here. Just like that. Just like that. Because we've made cuts here, we're going to have to dart it right here. Wrap that around. I'm going to have to cut it one more time. So, everywhere there's a corner, you're going to have to make a cut. So I'm just going to do this part first. Don't worry about having to cut the laminate either. That's no big deal because laminate sticks super well to itself. You'll never know that there was a seam. We're going to have to put another cut in this right there. Okay, so we're going to fold that over. Like you see, we're going to have laminate crossing over itself there. And it's just going to stick right down. You know you're getting your laminate on when it turns perfectly clear. That's when it's stuck. There we go. Right. And this last little corner bit right there. There we go. Okay, now it's all on there. So when we go in the end here, just going to slit it. Yep, just like that. I'm going to trim one side off. There we go. Okay, you see what I did there? I just trimmed one side off so I can fold the other side over like that. Right around the end. This iron is hot and won't burn you. That's why I've got a piece of metal over here. I keep setting it on so it doesn't burn my desk. So trim this piece off. Okay. And we're going to do one more wrap around. And we're going to cut it at the rear edge there. Get that nice and stuck down. I'm just going to trim it off. You can see on the edge there, I've got a couple of little pieces sticking up. Just take your iron and flatten them right back down. It'll all just stick to itself. Just like that. That's it. That's how you laminate an Elevon. We got a little bit more to do over here in this corner where we had to cut it. And one more little wrap here. Like I say, we're working on something nice and flat so you don't warp these while you're putting the heat to it. And once you're done, just go over it again with the heat on all the sides. Just make sure it's all nice and stuck down. There we go. One done. Okay. How many said we did this? That, right? If I wrap around, yep, that's the right way. Okay. Okay. Alright. See how quickly that sticks on there, and it's stuck. That's not coming off. You have to do the same thing here with the corners. Just gotta cut a slit. Cut a slit. And we'll wrap it up. You know what? I'll put this end right here right now. There we go. Okay. Just like that. Overlap it. There we go. Overlap this last little corner. And that's that. Alright. We'll cut this piece and wrap it up around the end. There we go. If you make a minor mistake, it's not a big deal. If you get a wrinkle or a bubble, just poke it with a knife and flatten it back out. Stuff kind of shrinks a bit when you heat it too, so mistakes are not that big a deal. If you apply a little more heat, they usually smooth themselves out. And this is the third wrap, and we're going to cut it right at this back edge so we don't have any seam facing into the wind. Just overlap it like that. And this last piece, get it nice and tight, and just iron it on. There we go. That's all there is to it. If you find your laminate's not sticking, your iron's probably not hot enough. Crank the heat up a little bit. But you don't want to go too high, especially not on the foam, because you can burn things. So, where I've got it set is about between the 3 and 4 setting on the iron, and that seems to be about right for what I'm doing here. This is pretty thin laminate. If you're using 5 millimeter laminate, you might have to crank it up a little more, maybe to the 4. Okay, get rid of all that. Going around the edges and pushing any pieces that are sticking up, just pushing them down. See, we got a little bit sticking up there. I don't know if you can see it. I'm just gonna push it down with the iron. That's it. Alright, another one done. Time to do the wing. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to do one piece, and I'm going to wrap it around the top, but just over the edge. And then when I do the top, I'm going to wrap it back around so that the seam ends up facing towards the back of the wing. This is such a small wing, it's so easy to do. There's a lot of the bigger wings you have to do in a couple of pieces because the laminate just isn't big enough. With a wing of this size, this is really pretty easy. Okay, so I've got the whole thing covered. So make sure you get your laminate in a position where you can cover the entire wing and wrap around. Move that forward just a bit. There we go. Just take your iron. And this is something I learned from 7Demo7's channel. If you start in the middle and work your way out, you might get running wrinkles. So what he suggests you do is you do some stripes. And you see right away that turned clear. That's how you know you've got it stuck down. We're going to do a stripe. When you do the stripes, you stop wrinkles from moving all the way down the wing. You just pull it tight, do a stripe. It didn't work out that well. Not the way I usually do it. So I'm just going to pull it tight and work my way out. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, pretty much better. it's a little wrinkly, it's not that big a deal. If it's a little crinkly in between, not the end of the world. I need a little more heat. So it's a little wrinkly over here, and I'll show you later how to, when we're done laminating, I'll show you how to get rid of those wrinkles. Get right to the end there, right where we put that hot glue, remember? So taking it right to the end, making sure we get it stuck down where we spread that hot glue out. You just want to put a little pressure on it, keep it nice and tight as you're working. But you don't want to pull it so tight that you warp the wing. So you want to keep it, you want it to be tight, but not so tight that you're changing the shape of the wing. You just want to put a little pressure on it, and then iron it on. Okay, that's pretty much good. Got the whole bottom done there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some cuts in it, and we're going to kind of just wrap it around just a little bit. So let's start doing that. And basically just putting cuts anywhere there's a corner. Yep. There's a corner here. There's a corner here. There you go. And you saw all that loosen up immediately. So just trim that off there. And then we're going to go right on the trailing edge here. Iron is hot, so watch your fingers, but get it in there. Okay. Just cut that off right along the edge. Make sure that edge is good and stuck down. And one quick word of warning, if you have painted this, you want to make sure not to hit the paint with your iron. If you do, it's going to A, mess up your paint job, and B, get stuck to the iron, and you're going to have to stop and clean your iron. So don't let your iron hit anything sticky like paint or the hot glue, because it'll just get stuck right to your iron. So you want to get that edge. And if you don't get the edge completely stuck down, it's not that big a deal, because when we laminate from the other side, we're going to go over it again, and we'll just stick it down then. So you can start to see what we're getting here. Throw away the scrap pieces as you go. So I'm going to cut this right there, and we're going to cut it off about a 1/2 inch trailing up over the top. And cut it right here. Okay. You just want to, right when you're ever doing curved edges, you just want to take your iron and just roll it over that edge. Make sure you're stuck down to the edge all along here. If you're having any trouble with this wrinkling up, just cut a relief cut in it, which I'm going to do right now, because I can see some wrinkles forming. So, just like that, just make a slit, cut a relief cut. It'll relieve the pressure from it wrapping around. You see, I didn't get completely to that edge. That's fine. When we laminate from the other side, you just heat both layers together and they both stick. This is intimidating for someone who's never done it before, but it's really, really easy. It's really nothing to be afraid of. It's just not difficult to do. And worst case scenario, you can just pull it off and start over again if you have to. And all it'll cost you is a little more laminate. Like you can see, we've got that wing bottom pretty much done there. We're going to do this part right here where it wraps up. Those scraps I'm just throwing in a trash can down here, but they're not going anywhere. If I need a little piece, we can just grab some. And sometimes you do get a little spot where you miss, and it's no problem just to throw a little extra piece in there. You can just put a patch of it on there. You'll never see it. You'll never see the seam. Laminate sticks really well to everything, but it sticks really well to itself. Just get that started on the top there. There we go. You can see that's that side pretty much ready to go. We will hit it one more time with the heat just to clear any wrinkles up and make sure we've got it all sealed down before we finish, but that's pretty much it. So right where this motor mount is, I'm just going to cut it off flush with that motor mount. Okay. Pretty good. So we cut another relief cut right at this corner. There we go. I'm going to wrap that nose up and over just like that. And actually, that comes exactly to the edge of that battery bay. So probably when we're doing the top, we may not even need to do that again. We may. We'll see. But that may just be sufficient. Good enough. Okay, so I'm just cutting around these 3D printed pieces. There we go. So that right there along that edge where we put that hot glue down, that is just grabbing that laminate and it's going to just keep it there. I can feel it under the iron, smushing a little, and that's going to work out just great. So we're certainly getting there. Okay. Just doing this trailing edge here. There we go. So that's starting to wrinkle up, so I'm just going to cut a relief. In fact, I'm going to cut 2 relief cuts in it, so that we don't end up with a wrinkle. If you end up with a wrinkle in the bottom layer, you'll have a wrinkle in the top layer. There we go. And there we go. Okay. Very good. Alright, we're just going to wrap this front edge around. And we should be pretty well done with the bottom side. Cut a couple reliefs. Like that. Just gonna roll that iron right around the edge. Just like that. Stick that laminate down. So with laminating iron, you'll find that if you keep working and working and working, it'll cool off and won't work as well. If you set it down once in a while, and just give it a break for about 30 seconds, it'll heat back up. And then it'll work really well. I just heard it click off. You can hear the click of the heating element. So you find it's starting to kind of not stick down as well, give the heating iron about 30 seconds to sit there. And that'll make it heat up again. If you're wondering what I'm using for a desk guard over there, it is an old license plate. This is to keep me from burning my desk. Okay. One more little cut right along this 3D printed piece here. There we go. Nice. That's as good as it's going to get. So, there's the bottom of the wing. Pretty well laminated. See, there's a couple wrinkles, and we'll get those out. And it's time to move on to the top. Now, because we're divided by this piece, these 3D printed pieces, I'm going to do a piece, and a piece. Rather than doing it in one big sheet like we did at the bottom. But that's no problem. Okay. Woo, stuck that in my foot. Okay. Make sure we've got good coverage all the way across. And you get the whole thing. Very good. Let's tack that bad boy down. And once you get a spot down, then you can kind of stretch it out and work from that spot out towards the edges. You'll see where, in the back there, it's hard to see where the seam is on this camera. But, see there, right there? Once I go over it with the heat, like I did here, you can't even see it anymore. As much as possible, just like with the Elevons, you want to keep it flat on the desk or in the wing beds if it came with wing beds, to try not to change the shape of this while you're ironing on this laminate. The laminate will pull tight, and you don't want to bend the wing up or bend the wing down, you know, as the laminate is putting pressure on the foam, because it kind of shrinks a little. Not that it won't still fly. It would still fly, just it'll be better if you don't. You'd be surprised at how far out of whack you can get, and it will still fly pretty good. Okay. Okay. So, I'm just going to trim around this 3D printed piece again. I'm just going to take it right to that edge, and that's where we put the hot glue down. So once you stick that edge down, that edge is not going to come back out. That hot glue is getting melted again by the iron. It's grabbing onto that laminate. And it's just going to seal it right up. Okay. Pretty good. Okay. Just like on the bottom, anywhere there's a corner, we're going to have to cut it. So we're not going to wrap this back edge around. Because if we wrapped it all the way around, we'd end up with a seam facing into the wind, and the wind would catch that seam and try to pull it off. We've already overlapped it, so we're just going to cut it flush with the back. And we're just going to seal that edge right up to the edge, and then just onto the back of the wing. Okay, so see what we did there? We just, right on the trailing edge there, so right, we cut it and then just wrapped it over a couple millimeters onto that trailing edge. So it'll be at the back and it can't get caught by the wind. Alright. Just gonna trim this end off. Like that. Again, you can see where that seam was over here. Once I iron it, it's just gone. So don't worry about piecemealing in a little laminate. The seams just disappear. I see a lot of guys try to do a whole wing in one piece of laminate. That's ridiculous. Just put the pieces where you need to put it, and it'll be fine. So I'm just going to wrap this over to about right there. Not exact, just overhang by about 1 inch. Just like that. And we're just going to seal that on. And that's it for this side. Okay, on this bottom, I'm just going to make a couple relief cuts so that we don't get wrinkles. There we go. And as you can see here, no seam. It just disappears. There you go. So the way we did that, when we wrapped it over from the bottom and then over again from the top, we got 2 pieces of laminate right here on the leading edge, where you're most likely to need that kind of protection. Where if you're going to hit a branch, you're going to hit something, you hit something right here. So that's where we've got 2 layers, just the way we want it. We're just going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll tackle the middle. And probably I will run a whole piece of laminate up over this top again and back around to the bottom to add 2 layers to this front piece right here where it's going to take some abuse. Uh-oh, out of laminate. So, that's the end of the laminate that came with the kit. And it's not enough to do that wing. Luckily, I have plenty of it. But if you're going to get this kit, know that you may need a little extra laminate. It's cheap enough. You can get it from Stone Blue or Ready Made or anywhere that sells these kind of kits will have the laminates. Just buy some extra. I have 2 300-foot rolls or 250-foot rolls. So I've got plenty. Okay. I'm just going to cut that right over that motor mount like that, split it, so that it'll stick down. And I'm just going to stick it down and then start cutting it to where it needs to be. Okay, we're getting stuck down there. I'm just going to stick it down right to the back there. Good. And do this side. Okay, so all I did there was I just put a slit right there and then just stuck it down. And now I'm just going to go through and trim right where it meets the motor mount and right where it meets these things. And then I'll work my way forward. Okay. This is a bit of a complex. This isn't a complex shaped area, but there's a lot to work around. I don't want to melt these fins. These are just plastic with this iron. Okay. Okay. So, I just stuck that down to the front, and I'm going to trim again, and then just wrap it around. Don't worry about the fact there's a hole there. You just iron right over that as if it's not there. bottom side, I'm going to trim that about, again, about an inch back. Maybe a little more. I'll just wrap it around just like that. Little section there needs a little more trimming. There we go. Good. So now we don't have any of the seams facing forward. Still have one wing to do, by the way. Alright, pretty happy with that. Now all you do is, where the plastic is covering that bay, you just go along and cut it out. Okay. Perfecto. Good. Good. Now we've got one more wing to do. Like I said, we're out of laminate. So I'm going to get some from my personal supply. So I got 2 of these 150-foot rolls for $50. So if you think you're going to build a lot of wings, you think wings are going to be something to get into, this stuff is generally about $10 for 15 feet if you buy it by the piece. But this roll, like I said, 2 of these rolls, which is enough to last you and a friend a lifetime, is only about $50. It's the same kind of stuff that they use in industrial, or like laminating machines you would have at a school. The same kind of paper laminating stuff. It's pretty much the same stuff. If you want to know where to get some, put a comment down below if anyone wants to know where to get it, and I'll see if I can find the link to where I got it. I think I got it on Amazon. Okay, so let's finish this thing up. Shiny side up, dull side down. Okay. Just gonna get that all stuck down. All right. Okay. Alright, we're going to do the same thing. Just going to cut it short and just seal it on the trailing edge. Okay. There we go. Okay. Good. Pretty good. All right. Now, you're all done laminating. And we've done a pretty good job here. What you want to do is, and you only want to do this with EPP foam, not with EPO foam, because you will melt it. So check to make sure that you are using EPP, this flexible foam. You're going to crank your iron all the way up. And I just set it up all the way to maximum. I'm going to give that a few minutes to really get hot. And we're going to go over this thing once again and just hit it with maximum heat. Just a quick brush over. You don't want to hold the iron in one place. Just brush over it quickly. Make sure all the laminate's fully stuck down. We didn't miss anything on both sides. And then we're going to be done with laminating. And like I said, it's not as hard as it seems. Alright, that's nice and hot now. You can kind of smell it when you do this. You smell the plastic a bit because it's just shrinking this laminate down, really heating it up. You want to keep moving. You don't want to linger in any one place for a long time when you're doing this. Just really quickly go over the whole thing. Hit this in here. This front. Smell almost that burning plastic smell of this stuff really getting sealed down. There we go. Okay. I'm hitting this back edge right here one more time. I see a few bubbles. There's a bubble in it right here. I'm just going to poke it and seal it up. Ooh. Actually, I left the iron on there a little too long. It started to melt the foam there. Yeah, but it's going to be okay. You know, keep that moving when you're doing this. Like I said, you don't want to leave it in any one spot because you will just melt that foam right down. Woo! Got my finger. Okay, just really quickly hit it all. Hit that trailing edge. That leading edge. And that's it. Done. Turn your iron off. Unplug it. Get ready to move on to the next step. Next thing we're going to do is attach the elevons, but we'll make a new video. So, I'll see you in a few.